Numerous perilous circumstances can unfold around us, potentially plunging us into perilous situations where self-help is futile. These can range from the extreme, like doomsday itself, to something more immediate, like natural disasters. We might not find ourselves overly concerned about these scenarios for several reasons, including the fact that the dangers haven't personally impacted us yet. Nonetheless, there is a community of individuals who are highly attentive to such potential crises and are proactively gearing up to handle them. These individuals are recognized as preppers. A substantial number of them choose to keep their identities concealed, particularly the ones who are thoroughly prepared, to avoid being categorized as irrational or overly fixated.
Would you call yourself a prepper? You are, right?
Yeah, I am, but you see, especially in the US, right, the word prepper isn't a very nice word, because when people say that I'm a prepper, the other person who receive it will just think that this is a crazy person. So I would say I'm more of a survivalist.
Many preppers believe in doomsday, so they try to prepare for various scenarios. This includes securing shelter, ensuring a supply of drinking water, stockpiling food and medicine, and honing self-reliance and survival skills. The concept of doomsday has existed for a long time. While our world has not yet collapsed, the various disasters occurring worldwide nowadays lead many people to consider that perhaps doomsday is not merely an idle belief held by a particular group. Although doomsday may appear distant and absurd, numerous almost daily situations could cause catastrophic events similar to doomsday scenarios. These include natural disasters, civil unrest, the possibility of World War III, food shortages, epidemics, nuclear threats, cyber attacks, acts of terrorism, and even the impact of asteroids colliding with Earth. Preparing for these situations may seem to some the height of paranoia, but such preparations are becoming more and more popular. In Singapore, there are many groups of preppers who take their activities very seriously and keep them secret. Some groups, however, conduct their activities openly and even offer workshops in general preparedness training to the public.
Okay, the basic purpose is, of course, to prepare the average citizen, even if you are not trained, such as you are not a firefighter, you are not a police or a soldier. You do have some very basic skills where you can protect yourself and your family in times of crisis.
Today there are many people participating in training, both Singaporeans and foreigners who live here, as well as groups of friends and family. The workshop begins with each person introducing themselves. The atmosphere is relaxed and casual, as if taking part in a hobby or participating in a weekend activity, rather than serious survival training.
Preparing for a disaster, like if there's a hurricane or some reason that the normal urban lifestyle is no longer feasible, how do you survive in that situation?
A prepper's activities start by preparing essential emergency survival items, which will be kept in their backpacks at all times whenever they leave their homes.
The standard things are there: wallet, keys, smartphone, power bank, water bottle, and maybe as a self-defense aid, I'll carry an umbrella, that you can retract, become a pole, or something like that.
Oh, okay.
One of the participants is highly attentive to both emergency situations and the training. He even brought support equipment along with him.
I will put this as my pendant. It's a whistle, so you can put it on your neck. Okay, so it's always on you. Alright, the concept of having this on you is so that, let's say, you drop your bag or...
Preppers will teach us how to prepare our bags in case we encounter emergencies such as storms, getting lost in a forest, or riots, which could leave us stranded outside or force us to evacuate our homes suddenly.
In order to be a survivalist, what you have to have? I saw you have a lot of things that you are so well prepared. Look at the watch. What is it? The watch.
Okay, let me show you.
Yeah, okay.
This is a survival watch, so of course it has the function of a watch. I mean, you need to tell the time. This is a thermometer, so you can gauge the temperature around us. Of course, we have the compass. And
imagine if you get lost in the jungle like this. So
yeah,
you're
correct.
able to find a way out.
Yeah, even if you're not in the forest or jungle, perhaps in urban environment, you can look around the signs and you can try to use the compass to like navigate if you don't have a map. Yeah. This is a fire steel, so it works like this. You use a blade and just flick it.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do it again.
So it's like lighter.
Yeah, you use this to start a fire.
Okay.
And of course, this thing is a whistle. So if you are trapped somewhere, you need to call for help. Instead of shouting, you just like blow it. Yeah.
The prepper shows us another piece of equipment, which is not just an ordinary pen. It contains a built-in flashlight and has the capability to be converted into a weapon of self-defense. Prepper's training covers the 4 basic human needs, like food, clothing, shelter, and medicine. The topic that requires the least preparation is probably clothing. It's something everyone already has, and it has a relatively long lifetime. Therefore, the training focuses on the more difficult and unfamiliar topics, like first aid.
So what I have in front of me is a first aid kit. We are not working with first aid kits today. Alright? So assume that you don't have any of this. Alright? What we're going to do? What we're going to use? Open it near.
The tutorial showcases fundamental first aid procedures, encompassing ways to stop bleeding and dressing wounds using gauze. Additionally, it tackles the management of severe injuries, like a tree branch impaling a hand or bone fractures in limbs. Attendees actively engage in crafting splints for fractured arms or legs, utilizing readily accessible items such as fabric, ropes, and pieces of wood. Their involvement is palpable, vibrant, and eager. This knowledge of first aid doesn't require waiting for a disaster or doomsday scenario. Accidents are an unforeseen, yet common aspect of daily life for many. Understanding the basics of first aid can mitigate the gravity of injuries, alleviate discomfort, and limit potential harm to a certain degree. Included is a presentation on the proper techniques for safely transferring a patient. What sets preppers' training apart from general first aid, however, is the training in situations where rescue equipment is lacking.
Us as a community taking care of each other, and nowadays any form of kind of civil unrest or threats are quite unpredictable, and it might be a situation where we are tied down in terms of resources, again being a small community. Yes, we are all prepared for the worst case scenario.
For example, if they need to transport this child safely without a stretcher, they have to adapt the existing equipment instead.
Important because, even though we are now living in an urban jungle, everything is concrete, we have buildings everywhere, everything is modernized, but there will always be a time where we go out for our holiday, or we go out maybe like hiking, a recreational activity with our families. So there is that slim chance of you getting lost sometimes. So just for the sake of trying to survive for the few hours or the few days while the rescuers are trying to find you.
From first aid to fire lighting techniques, preppers train the participants to light a fire using a magnesium rod and scraper, which are essential emergency tools for camping and hiking. The method is similar to using matches, but when we actually try it, it's not as easy as we thought. Many participants cannot scrape the steel against the magnesium rod to create a spark. When they learn a few tricks, they can now start a fire without relying on electricity, gas, matches, or a lighter.
If you want to see more great content from all over the world, please like the video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon. Thank you.
After finishing the classroom lesson, preppers take the participants out on a hike to gain hands-on experience. Even though the forest is not large and dense, this small, sparse wooded area is a valuable part of Singapore. When they've done it before, lighting a fire in the forest using dry leaves as fuel becomes easy. The fire started as a small spark and turned into a blazing bonfire. While electricity lights up the city, a bonfire like this could seem meaningless. If we imagine, however, a scenario where a disaster occurs, basic utilities are destroyed, or if we've become stranded in a remote area, this small fire would provide heat for cooking, light and warmth. Another important factor is food. Preppers stockpile food to survive for a period of time. If the severe situation persists and the food reserves become depleted, they'll need to forage for natural food. Preppers begin by teaching participants how to cut and sharpen wood to make bows for hunting. After that, the preppers and the participants come to a small yard at the edge of the forest to practice archery. The atmosphere is more enjoyable, similar to a family camping trip, taking the kids to summer camp or engaging in a fun outdoor activity, rather than being focused on survival. Experiencing a situation where we have to find our own food like this should, however, encourage participants to appreciate the value of every mouthful of food we consume in normal times. Preparing for unexpected situations is not limited to just the citizen level. In Singapore, it is a national policy. The government has an emergency response website, and legislation mandates shelter provision in newly built apartments.
In my faith perspective, I do believe there's an end of times. But at the same time, I believe the tenacity of the human spirit, that regardless of any situation, the big challenge would be to do the best that we can for the situation. So regardless of whether there's a doomsday, I think more importantly is I believe in doing my best. Yeah, so I believe in this saying that if you know that the world will end tomorrow and you have to plant a tree, then plant a tree.
Okay, doomsday is a totally different thing. Okay.
Do you believe in that in the first place?
Well, I believe that things like that can happen. Like the rate of everything that's happening in the world, with the civil unrest everywhere in the world, it's coming closer to us in Singapore. So I believe that it might reach to Singapore. So it's always better to be prepared than not at all.
Preparing for doomsday or disasters may be seen by some as nonsensical and unnecessary. From another perspective, though, being alert and aware of the worst-case scenario might remind people to appreciate the present and what we have right now. The essential items in the backpack, along with knowledge and various self-help techniques, may prove valuable in the event of an accident or critical situation. We may not escape such a situation immediately, but at least this might help to extend the amount of time we can wait for the actual help.